Rich, would you open with a prayer for guidance?
Yes, let's bow our heads, please. Father God, thank you for your goodness to us. Thank you for the love that we share within our families and relationships. Thank you for watching over us, and we pray for our loved ones wherever they may be. We ask that you would protect them. Father, we also thank you for the opportunity to serve you, and we ask especially now your blessing on our meeting this evening, and we pray that decisions that are made are in keeping with your will and your plan. Watch over us in this night, and we ask it in Christ's name. Amen.
And if you would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, it's good to see everyone after a few weeks here. It's been a little while. We welcome the public, those who have come tonight. Appreciate the Sergeant and Chief being here too. And those of you who had to come, you might be rewarded in a fairly short agenda tonight. So, my quote for this evening to start off with has to do with a public library. No surprise there. And by the way, just as a reminder, I think we all remember that afterward we're going to have a chance to walk through the library and have a couple of pictures. So make sure you don't leave too quickly here tonight. This is a quote from Mark Twain, who I often quote, but he's very quotable. He said, "A public library is the most enduring of memorials, the trustiest monument for the preservation of an event or a name or an affection. For it, and it only, is respected by wars and revolutions and survives them all." So, usually he's witty. That time he's just sober and accurate. So I don't know if this is witty or not, so I thought I got to get something a little funny. Groucho Marx said, "Outside of a dog, a book is man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read." That's kind of bad. That one's bad. As I said, we've got a shorter agenda tonight, and I don't know if that's going to continue into the future. We're winding down, as you guys know, with the library. I think I saw in the minutes the other day from the library meeting, maybe our 38th meeting. I don't think Dan or Rod has missed a single one. It's been every other week. I've tried to make as many as I could and made a majority, but those guys I don't think have missed any. And we see the light at the end of that tunnel. And I think as we turn that corner here after really a year or two of focus on that, I can see the master plan looming in the not too distant future. And I think even the parks 5-year plan and some other bigger issues, weightier issues that I'm sure we'll be tackling and taking up. But it's been a good season, really, with this library. And now we see the fruition of that and looking forward to seeing the public enjoy it. And with that, I'd ask the clerk to confirm the roll here.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, let the record show that all members of the board are present.
Great. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I would make that motion.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. It is passed. Item 6, for those of you who are here tonight visiting, are communications, letters, and reports that we receive for information. The board members read those and keep current on minutes of other committees and various other reports that are submitted by the sheriff and others. That's item 6. Item 7, then, is an opportunity for those who come tonight to speak to the board about items which are on the agenda for this evening. Later on, there will be a second public comment period when you can speak to anything you wish. So the items remaining on the agenda tonight are not too voluminous, like I said, but if any of them caught your attention, I'd be surprised. The campus press, legal publication rates we're going to talk about, and perhaps the issue or the question of sidewalks out there in Port Sheldon. So you'll have a chance, I say, to either address us now about those items or wait until later in the meeting and address whatever you please. Is there anyone who would like to step forward and address the board on items on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll close that first public comment period and move on to item 8. This is our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
Support.
Moved and supported. Does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? All right, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The same sign. And agenda is approved. Item 9, 2020 Grant is press legal publication rate. Is there a motion to place this before the board?
I make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll support that.
Moved and supported. One of the things we've lamented here for a while was the absence of the advance. And I think when we lost the advance, we really lost a reliable source of communicating with our residents. We do our best through the website and other avenues, social media and the like, but they're not fulfilling the legal requirements. We need to publish certain meetings and notices and the like. And currently, with the advance no longer in print, one of the things we were wrestling with as the Finance Committee this past week was, wow, they're raising the rates for the press, but what is the alternative to that, at least for the time being, until I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, finance members, but 2025 is the year that we can go electronic notice. Have I got that right? Okay. So for a window of time yet, we would certainly be paying more than what we'd pay with the advance. But that's just by way of backdrop. Does anyone wish to discuss or address this issue?
It's actually not as horrible as it sounded. We were paying $10.92 per column inch for the advance, our last contract for 2018. So I'm thinking if we go Tuesdays, which is the best price at $27.62.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Not terrible.
Not terrible.
Yeah.
Not to the point where we need to panic and start doubling our application fees for planning commissioner zoning. Zoning.
Sure. No, good point, Michael. It's not drastic. It's certainly, maybe 3 times, close to 3 times right now, but not drastic. It somewhat is what it is. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, and that is approved. Item 10, I promised you is a short agenda. This is our second public comment period. And any one of you who's here tonight is free to address the board on any topic that you like. I see Hugh looking to rise perhaps, but I'll show you how it's done, and if others want to follow me, you're welcome to do so. But all we ask is that you state your name and your street address. So, yes.
Hugh Eisen, 6032 Sunnydale Drive.
Welcome.
Recently, we had the death of former Governor Milliken. Our current governor put out a mandate that the flag should be lowered to half-staff. The township chose not to ignore that. None of the flags were lowered to half-staff. This has happened in the past with presidential mandates. Why is that? Why does the township not lower flags to half-staff? And then the second item. Back in August the 21st, the Finance Committee chose to go to a closed session for property acquisition. The following week, on August 26th, this board chose to go to closed session for property acquisition, and it stopped right there. Is there a property acquisition in the process? If so, what property? Why? Is it another process of buy high, sell low on this board's process? Why don't we hear anything more about property acquisition? Is it going to be a surprise to everybody? And what is the purpose of property acquisition if the public doesn't know about it? So please consider that. Put out some information. Why are you buying property and then nobody knows why you're buying it or what the purpose is for that property? So is it another property beautification process? Where is it? So let us know what's happening. Thank you.
Hugh. Thank you. Yes. By the way, as Hugh's taking a seat, this is a time for you to speak to us. And so if you don't see us readily respond, it's not that we won't respond. It's just that it's your time presently, and then we'll take the opportunity to respond later. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Lee Fisher. I live at 171 Summer Sands Court in Park Township. I'm here tonight to introduce myself to all of you. I'm getting out to an early start. I don't know if any of you have heard that our county prosecutor, Ron France, is going to be retiring at the end of his term, at the end of 2020. And I am currently Ron's chief assistant prosecutor. And I have filed to run for county prosecutor, so I just want to take this time to introduce myself to all of you. I'm going to starting my tour of the township boards here tonight. You're my first board. So I did bring along some campaign literature hot off the presses today. The rack card, if any of you are interested in having my rack card, it tells you a little bit more about me, gives you direction to my website, and I'm happy to talk, stick around and talk with any of you if you have any questions for me after the meeting. If you're willing to do so. I'd appreciate you doing that.
Thanks, Lee.
Right?
I recognize your name.
Yeah.
I recall recently we had to speak.
We just had some dealings with it. I'd like to ask
Appreciate
you about
it.
it after the meeting if I
Yeah,
could.
sure, okay, no problem.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. And for putting yourself out there. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close this second public comment period. And moving on to item number 11, discussion and general information. I think before we address 11.1, which I think will probably be a decent amount of conversation about, I wanted to briefly say something, and Hugh, I don't want to get into dialogue so much, but we can certainly afterwards talk more if you like. I've sat on the committee where we've talked about flags. In fact, talked about them again recently among several of us board members. We follow a certain protocol, and there are various protocols out there. Some are more stringent than others, and I know that every time that we have a situation where the more stringent protocol would require the lowering of the flag and we don't, we receive feedback, not just from Hugh, but others. Hugh represents a number of people that really respect that protocol and, frankly, the flag, and none of us begrudges that, in fact, admires it. Then other questions, I suppose, that have arisen among us in terms of, I gave the example, someone else recently mentioned the example that it was Rich who said that currently this week we would have the flags lowered for John Conyers until either Thursday or Friday in view of his death because that's what the governor ordered. And I just remember the last time it came up, there were differing opinions about how frequently it would occur and whether or not we wanted to lower it as often and for some of the causes for which that other protocol would require. And so I expect that that's something, none of us likes to receive that feedback and recognize that it's differing degrees of respect for the same flag and no less love. But I know, John, that's something that we're going to have further discussion about, and let's just see if that percolates back up into the committee, and we'll make sure that that's at least a thoughtful decision if we should hold pat with where we are. Appreciate you raising that. As far as the property acquisition goes, purposes can be for various reasons, but sometimes we acquire property for green space. I don't know if anybody is noticing, but frequently on our agenda, there was another one tonight. There's an approval of another plat, which is great. I mean, we were listed this week as fourth in the nation in terms of stability of housing market, affordability, just a positive and consistent market. Fourth in the country, not fourth in the state, which is remarkable. And yet with that, of course, comes the crowding in that we can all appreciate too, to say, I know it's a desirable place to live, but at some point, you need the amenities and the space for people to enjoy that. And so sometimes we look at it from that standpoint too, just to say, boy, for future generations here, it'd be great to have, for example, the green space down along the river in which we'll have a path soon to connect with Kent County. And that's not the space we were talking about, just so you know. But otherwise, there are different reasons, and sometimes it is preservation reasons. But should that come to a point where there's a consensus that we ought to go to a formal purchase offer, then that will be brought up in public and will be debated in public and will be voted on in public at a meeting at which the public can both hear and participate. So until then, it would certainly hamper our ability if people were saying things and it was getting back to a potential seller and it could affect purchase price and a number of other things. So that is the protocol. And having said that, I don't care if you wish to opine on other matters now or if we should address 11.1 and then see where we stand time-wise after that. I guess we can go to 11.1 since it's on there. Sidewalks, non-motorized paths on Port Sheldon between 40th Avenue and 48th. This is not a motion, but rather a discussion item, and it might be best to begin that discussion perhaps with someone on the committee that's taken it up recently.
I'll start that conversation since I'm not currently coughing. Sorry about that. This was a topic in utilities, sidewalks on Port Sheldon between 40th and 48th. This is a stretch of road that has come up before the board in the past. But the timing would be now if we're going to begin to take action on it because of repaving schedules. And so we know from Ottawa County Road Commission that it would be a rough estimate of about $400,000 to just add a 6-foot bike lane along the shoulder, just essentially when the road is paved to pave it wider. But then there's also the attached estimates for 5-foot concrete sidewalk and an 8-foot asphalt path. And in utilities, when we met last, we all just kind of looked at each other and said, I feel like we got to do something, but is a 6-foot bike lane enough? And it is very expensive because there's deep ditches there, and so it would need to be storm sewer, retaining walls, likely because of where the floodplain is, a stretch of boardwalk, to make the path a sidewalk if we went, further than the grading of the road. And so utilities just kind of said, can we bring it to the board and see what other people are thinking, because we felt like we needed more discussion than just the three of us to kind of come to a consensus once we saw the numbers, because the numbers were very high. You feel like that is an accurate summary?
Yes.
We just kind of wanted to brainstorm it together.
Go ahead if you don't mind, mention the numbers, just so there's...
So just widening the road would be about $400,000 plus any additional right-of-way that we had to acquire. The 8-foot asphalt path is $1,815,000, and a 5-foot concrete sidewalk, the estimate was $2,636,000. And some of it was a little bit up in the air because, they put boardwalk in, but the people that gave us the estimate weren't certain that we would end up needing the boardwalk, but because of where it falls in the floodplain, they thought probably we would need some amount. So they kind of gave a rough estimate of what that would look like. But it's really expensive, but it's also a stretch of road that we've heard about, within the last 3 or 4 years. So I guess that was kind of where utilities was at. What do y'all think?
There's strong support for the $400,000 for the widening and put in a 6-foot bike lane.
Would that be on both sides or just one side, John? So
One side.
Okay. On both? Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I had that wrong in my notes.
The sidewalks, especially with the development, many houses are going into that area, would be a positive. But the costs involved, especially have a creek running through there, the drainage tile, it'd be a multi-million-dollar project. And that's why we're here with you. See what your thoughts are. But there is strong support for the path that would be on both sides, 6 feet wide. That could be sufficient. But you have the very large development up there on the hill. It would be nice to get those people sidewalks. But the cost is very, very high.
So the path on both sides, that's the $1,815,000 or
No.
No?
It's $400,000.
Put 6 feet on both sides.
Oh. That's by far the cheapest way to go, and we've done that in the past.
But the 8-foot, if we went with the 8-foot, it would just be on the south side because that's the side that's easier to put storm sewer under the path. Is what I think I read in the checker.
And there might be some boardwalk also that would have to be put in with those sidewalks. I believe it'd be very similar to what you see as you leave Holland. You have that wet area as you leave Holland, and you have that boardwalk that works its way around marshy areas.
Okay, yeah.
It's pretty wet in that section.
My opinion is, with the terrain the way it is, to go with the $400,000, just the widening.
Put 6 feet on, widen the road, and
That would be my opinion. There's a lot of ditches, it would be a big project and a lot of money. So that's necessary. My opinion.
You, Carol? Others of you?
I think that makes the most financial sense. One of the things I was looking at is, we could tackle about 75% of this, and I don't know if we have a map, but if we went out to Sheldon and did the sidewalk there, we would knock about a quarter of the amount off and maybe hopefully about a quarter of the cost. And that keeps a lot of that sidewalk where we have the volume, the people, the parks, and we kind of cut out that last quarter mile between where our development currently ends to the boundary of our township is one thought on cost savings there. But while it would be really nice to have something like this, again, it's the expense compared to other projects we've done is through the roof. And so we're saying, hey, it makes the most financial sense to extend, 6 foot on each side. That's something similar to what we have right now over on 24th along Cedar Lake. Yeah, so we have a precedent for that seems to work well.
And I would agree with what Jason just said. I think the fact that we have nothing there now, nothing,
Right.
6 foot on either side would
It's
be
gonna
a
feel
great
huge.
addition for the cost. And you're asking for ideas. I'd agree with what the Utilities Committee is feeling, that I'd be in favor of that because, as I said, there isn't anything there now. So you add 6 feet on either side. Yeah, but very limited though, correct? Probably when you come up to Sunnydale, in that area, correct? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
But the timing is the factor now because that's going to get repaved next year. And so we kind of want to maybe get the ball rolling on something if we are going to do something, and now would be the time to do it.
Sure.
And that's why we asked for the estimate. We wanted to see the big picture. We realized it would be a great deal of money. I think we were all shocked though when it popped into the millions.
Yeah, it's extremely high. For comparison's sake, the path we just did on 28th down to Hager from Baldwin, I know it's not the same stretch, but not too terribly short. What was the cost of that just by, I see. Do you have even a ballpark estimate though, the cost that was involved in? Okay. Yeah.
Including what they did.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason that we went on the side that we did when we did 28th Ave too, because there wasn't that ditch issue so much on the side that we went with. But
Well, even the good side here is still multiplied by 10.
Michael, what do you think?
How much are we talking in property acquisitions, ballpark?
Means on top of the 400,000, how much would we be potentially
I mean, that could be a big number. I mean, you're talking about 50 property owners.
We're not talking about acquisitions if it's just adjacent to the road. The whole thing, and that's avoiding all of that because you're adjacent to the road, so you're not stretching out to the edge of the right of way.
And we have right of way out that far. The county has right of way out that far.
Yeah, because they're only looking at going 3 lanes, so that's 36 feet. So if you had another 12 feet, you're still under 48 total of the 66 feet. So there may be some challenges where it has to be retained, for ditches or guardrails. So you could face some challenges, but it's not the same as locating it over top of that ditch.
Yeah, it's a tough call. It's a lot of money, 1.8 or 2.6. But then again, I look at it and say this is for safety. We're going to spend $500,000 for shrubs and trees. There's no safety in that. So it's too late. That ship has sailed, but close to $1 million for a clock tower and shrubs. I think we should have spent that money on looking at this in more detail. So yeah, it's a tough call. I think probably more discussion in utilities. Positives and negatives. I think one of the negatives of 6-foot shoulder is what will happen on 24th is it becomes parking. which forced, and I just saw it last weekend driving down 24th, pedestrians forced out into the roadway because people park on that. Just widen up that, oh, it's a free parking alongside the street now. Does Michigan Vehicle Code prohibit that on Port Sheldon, or is it any street they could park on?
I don't think there's any prohibition on parking at this point, but you could pass an ordinance to do so if you wanted.
Because that would be my fear. 24th, I would label probably one of the most dangerous streets because of that. It forces pedestrians into the road.
Could we
People park on it.
Could we paint mark it as bike lane? I've seen other places do that. Their shoulders just mark it as bike lane and then do the edge.
We can work with the road commission to do that, but I think we can also, you have the power to adopt no parking zones. If you want to do that. We haven't done it in the past, but you can request the road commission to do it. If they don't, then you can adopt your own ordinances.
That's a great thing to keep in mind, Michael. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Yep. I would want the painting regardless, I guess, whether we pass such an ordinance, but, because that would discourage it, you would think, in large part. And you could see whether it was necessary to pass such an ordinance. But,
you have to evaluate that at all the locations you have the same configuration, and then get the road commission's approval to do so.
Right. Oh, for the painting, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. You're saying we'd have to go back on previous projects and do likewise?
So they follow certain standards, so you'd have to follow whatever standards are for the safety of the road.
Right, but they wouldn't mark this stretch in and of itself without saying, okay, where else in the township do we need to mark?
I think we just have to get their approval. That's all probably not absolute.
Yeah. Well, I guess on the last who's not addressed it yet, in an ideal world, it'd be wonderful to be able to put in the path we'd want, frankly, despite the cost, but the cost is just very high. And I think, Michael, I think you would even agree the cost here is such a great difference, and even by way of your analogy, it's such a disparity between the cost here and what the alternative is for the 6 feet on either side. And it could potentially be precedent setting as well. That is, if we were to spend that magnitude of money, next time you have a similar situation in the township where it demands that much, they say, well, you spent that last year. It'd be a budget breaker. Pleased that you bring it to the committee, or rather to the board as a committee. And at least I think you hear a consensus starting to form in a direction. So, thank you. Thank you.
We appreciate the dialogue, certainly.
Any other items for discussion? Yes.
I would say, was there any consideration of running the bike path just past Summer Hill and then connecting to the Rush Creek bike path? It's the same thing that happened on 28th, was the sidewalk just dead ends into the park, and then people are on their own to make it to Bowers, so we can do the same thing there.
Perhaps someone could laser point exactly where you're referring to there. Because you present an idea too, Jason, that hard to visualize,
This is the stretch we're talking about right here on Port Sheldon. This is the impound area, and the park is over here, so the trail comes through the impound area and kind of hits right here. So I'm assuming you're talking about connecting these streets right here along that side. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so it'd be to the, what would that be, the east of 40th to...
This stretch right here?
Yep.
Certainly those areas could all be looked at and considered, certainly. And just doing a partial, I think that's the same thing Jason mentioned, doing partial, and the committee can still work on that. And
is it Walton Heath that goes through to 48th over by Unity?
You can see these neighborhoods connected through. So if you can zoom, can you look, I want to go see a little bit further south. There you go. Now let's zoom in a little bit. So there's actually sidewalk. You can go north, raise it up again, so we're seeing to the south further. And so I don't know if there's right here is what I'm trying to see, Manette, right down there. There's not a connection. I know Unity has that spot right there, so no, there's no connectivity. This is where we put a sidewalk to get to Unity, so that would come up to here. So that would get you to this spot here. So you could do this stretch, if that's what you're saying, to connect the neighborhood.
Sheldon is what I had mentioned, that, we could punt on Sheldon out to 48th and say that's just kind of the end of the road for now, and that gets connectivity for the mass. All things that we can consider back in Utilities Committee.
Yep.
Okay.
I really appreciate that brainstorming. That's really helpful.
I wasn't sure how you were moving forward with the shoulder and looking at others, or you're thinking just wait and come back?
Utilities to revisit it at our next meeting.
Perfect, thank you.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Jason? Are you okay with that, John?
Yes, and we still have time. There's,
From a timing perspective, would it make sense to make a motion tonight?
Well, if you're doing the shoulders, we're not under the same time crunch. If we're doing something more, yes, but it would make sense. I mean, this is October, and they're going to start drawing up the plans in a few months. So, but you still have another month. That's fine. As far as
We're at the end of October. Our November utilities meeting is soon. Right? Early November, we'll have that meeting?
no, that's a
Okay.
holiday, so that falls on the 11th. So there won't be a meeting then. The next meeting will be the week of Thanksgiving.
November? Okay.
And so there's 2 meetings left in the year for
Okay.
the board.
I haven't looked that far forward.
So if you're sure on the shoulder, then yes, you could do that and do a portion. So that's why I wasn't sure if that's what you're looking at. Connecting portion.
I like that idea of the shoulder, but I'd like to see some numbers and how much more we're talking.
Explain what you just said, John.
Jason was talking about being able to connect with the sidewalk that's there right now, correct? And then go up to 48? Or,
Well, no, my thought was just, looking at options to end, if you go from 40th to Sheldon and end from Sheldon to 48, which is about a quarter of the distance. So I thought depending on any of the 3 options we looked at, we could potentially knock, if we just prorate, a quarter of the cost off by just eliminating that west portion.
I'd like to see it.
If you were to can you take this little guy right here? Take that little guy and drag it right up into that road right there. A blue line's going to form. See this little guy right down there? Yep, grab him. See that blue line right there? Park it right in there. No, that's not it. Got to hit the blue line. Right. Oop, no, you went too far. There you go. Right there. Drop him off. So close. Sorry. This trail is the segments where the road is, multiple feet higher. It's not working for her on the screen. Sorry, she's going to get it there, but. Click the see the blue line. You got to go up. You see the little circle below him. He's got to get on the blue line.
Little grass that he's standing on.
Half inch higher, quarter inch higher. Yeah, right there. Come on, a little higher, a little higher, a little higher. There, higher. Yep, higher. Higher. There you go. Now.
Right.
There you go. You did it. Good job. Thank you. Oh, we hit right in front of the center. Now turn so we can see some angles. If you look down the road, this doesn't look bad, but this is where it would go, right here. We have to take care of that water. High ground, path. Zoom down the road a little bit. Just click right there. Go ahead. There you go. We're just moving down the road. So you can see low. Keep going. And see, this is pretty easy. So if you pick this segment, you just got to figure this. Keep going down the road. And then keep going. So all of a sudden, that's lower. Multiple feet lower. This is where, if this path here has to be the same level as this road, this is where you're causing lots of issues. And now if property owners cooperated, and you could put it out here, but the likelihood of that is really small. And so this is the part of the issue. So what segment you pick and the price is not equally prorated for the location. So if you can drive through that area and kind of pick out the areas, if you pick the flat areas where you want it, it's easy. So, good? And thanks, Matt. Sorry to put you on the spot from that distance there.
I think we take all the input and utilities discusses it at our November meeting a month from now.
I do too, but is there enough time or should we meet before then?
I'm not sure of the deadline yet, if that's what you're asking. It all depends on what we're trying to accomplish. So as long as we're ready to make a decision in our November meeting, that'll be fine.
Okay.
All right.
Looks like connecting at the Rush Creek Trail would eliminate about half of that on the north side.
Different than what he was suggesting. Say that again? You're it's a variation of what Jason just said?
If we connected on the north side of Port Sheldon from 40th to the Rush Creek Trail, that would eliminate half of that distance between 40th and 48th. So the two combined would be significant. Also, we still currently own that corner property on Walton Heath, don't we, Port Sheldon?
That property is a drainage district, and it's in our name only because of foreclosure. So we've never accepted ownership. The board has never accepted ownership. So although it's transferred to us in taxes, it will be transferred the next time taxes are sold again.
So we could run the path down lower in that area because
I'm sure for that little stretch, but it could be wet. Yeah, certainly. We could do it in different areas where it's wet. We'd have to get permission. Of course, the standard is level with the road. So.
And those are also a standard from the center line too, but we vary from that like we do on 28.
1 foot variance from the outside edge is what they like. So.
I know, like by the water lift station, there's a pretty significant project. Away from, so like more than a foot, probably more like 6 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot. So we're the township, we get to break the rules.
Historically. I'm grateful you'll take it up again. I think it would require a pretty significant reduction in cost to garner majority support. I don't think nibbling around the edges is going to do it. So it's going to have to be something. I remember how many years we were asked to petition, pave Jackson, pave Jackson. It's the last road in the township that's not paved that doesn't dead end, There's $1 million, and there was never the majority support for that. And then you think about a sidewalk between just 40th and 48th that does numbers. It's going to have to, whatever idea might be floated or come up with, it's going to have to change the equation pretty significantly, I would think. And maybe that's possible. Maybe there is something. But, you guys noodle through it one more time, and then you'll have to reach a consensus here.
It's good to have, sometimes, and I know you guys know it because I'm sure it happens in your committees too, but it's difficult to sit sometimes in a committee and have a conversation and feel like as much in committee as we're not like speaking on behalf of the board, we don't want the three of us as a committee to be running in a direction that we know is never going to fly with the rest of the board. And when we all started talking about this, we were just kind of like, we don't know where other people are at. We need to gather some input, and I feel like now we can have an informed decision. We've kind of heard where everybody else is at, and then we'll put our heads together and bring a proposal with a dollar amount.
Okay, other items for discussion.
I'd like to just hear an update on library as far as when people are going to be able to get access to our library again. We're coming up on week 4 that it's been closed.
Yeah.
And then questions of...
Can I do that right at the end, and then we'll head over?
Sure, yeah.
When you're done with everything else, if that's okay, I'll kind of give you an update, and then we'll head on over.
Okay, good. All right. Anything else? Anything else?
I drove by the maintenance garage since it's been remodeled. It's beautiful. Very, very well done. And I didn't expect a logo on there. It looks great. So whoever's in charge and so forth, much better than the plans. Looks beautiful.
Wonderful.
I guess they took, the landscaping looks very, very good too.
Seeing no one else, I will just add, I had the privilege last week of representing the township at the dedication of the trail from Grand Valley and connecting their university to Grand Ravines. And there's a lot of generosity there among families, the Visser family. Did I get that right? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, that's item of trail, but it's Judge Versluis, the Versluis family.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Secchia was involved with it. It was a real joy to see those who've been involved in this and how persistent they are, and how they wanted me to remind all of you that they're excited about connecting up to Kent County and seeing that path get started here as soon as next year. It'll be a period of time yet before that section would connect up with the sections further to the west. But, you're talking 2025 or so, 2026, so not real long off. And so it was great. It was wonderful to be a part of that and to see all the progress they've made. A lot of generosity from philanthropists and a lot of hard work and effort on behalf of the county. And as I said in some of my remarks, I mean, that's one of those where you get to sit back as a township and say, you receive thanks from people and say, we really don't deserve the thanks other than that we did the obvious thing, which was to come alongside and support what the county was doing and these others were doing. And it reflects well on us, and it adds to an already strong park system. And I think more and more, when you think about schools, have always set us apart. Churches have, really houses of faith and worship. And I think parks are a huge part of who we are and who we're becoming. And this just adds to, enhances. Once that waterfront there is more and more in play, we're going to be the community that not just Chicago Drive cuts through, we're going to be the community that the Grand River runs through. And we're going to become more of a riverfront community, even, if it's alongside of, and some people like John like to get in it. So, anyways, that's all I have. And Dan, yep.
I was going to say, I missed that. That was a ribbon cutting I wanted to go to. Was the trail opening.
Yeah.
And it's just been chaos. But I do like the way that the county does it, and a lot of other townships and villages do it, is to get patrons.
Yeah.
To fund some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I've said that numerous times at meetings. We should be looking to try to get some private sector contributions.
I brainstormed after that ribbon cutting with a couple of people about Georgetown specifically and philanthropy and possibilities. And you're exactly right, Michael. I would love to see the ask as well as the response within this community for some special things. So
the money's right. We'll put that in on it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
because we're out of money, so it works out perfect.
I think we've done well. Yeah.
Okay. The update on the library. If you remember, our goal is to be in by Christmas, and we feel confident we're going to make it. We were kind of given some hope that we'd be done over a week ago, and we were limited at this point with the elevator. The elevator is, there's a lot of finishing touches. You'll see when we go in there, you'll see a lot of things, some wallpaper here, a lot of finishing touches that needs to be done. And so we're going to see that. But the elevator is what's keeping us from being open. The elevator was, I think I just cut out there, but the inspection is supposed to be tomorrow. So if we pass our inspection, tomorrow is also a cleanup day. You're going to see the site cleaned up to allow for patrons. We will open on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. So we'll put the announcement as soon as that inspector gives us the okay and move forward. So the elevator has been a couple months behind, and there's very few contractors that do elevators, and there's very little we can do to motivate the ones that we have to get it finished. So it's kind of holding up the whole building, and it's been frustrating from us, but we don't want to be upset any longer, and hopefully this will work out smoothly. So if the meeting's adjourned, Chairman, we'd like to move forward.
Well, last comments, if you would, on that, Dan. First of all, retainage-wise, I think we retained 3% or factors in 3 or 5.
This project is not finished.
All right, but
long way from
my point is we are thus far not just at budget, but under budget.
Yeah, we anticipate to fall under budget. That was the plan. Yeah. We're not pushing the budget, but I did want to iterate that the other building has to go. The parking lot has to be installed, but before the other building can go, we need to complete this process to be in. So it's not finished. It's a long way from finished, and that's why we're not having a ribbon cutting, but just kind of let people know.
And talk about the ribbon cutting then, in like a hard open, where you'd say, okay, welcome.
Most likely in the spring when the project is finished, would be the ribbon cutting. Okay. The real plan for the first public event here will be lighting of the Christmas tree. So the Christmas tree should come, and that'll be on the Thursday after Thanksgiving. It's the 5th of December. So.
And I think we're waiting for the spring because everything is not done. It won't be its best foot forward if we were trying to do it now in the muck and all. But
yeah, they're still pouring curb out there. So
I hope people don't feel that we've understated it to the community because it's obviously a big deal, and we should treat it accordingly. So yeah.
So it's on target. The original target, we had hoped we could be in the building at least a week ago, so a week and a half now. So, but in fact, we are in the building. And when you look in there, I want you to pay attention to all those books and all that furniture. None of it was done by an elevator. Just be thinking about that when you see it. So, nothing was moved up.
All right. Is there a motion?
I had some questions. When will the driveway be open out front? So the building will have to come down before.
We don't have a timetable. We've got to get the building down. So going to be subject to weather.
And we have temporary occupancy right now or no occupancy? Nothing.
Well, we have occupancy, but not to open to the public. So we can't open to the public without the elevator.
Okay.
So that's what our final issue is.
Because I had a few people asking me like, well, the driveway's been closed for 7, 8 weeks now. The library has been closed. We're going on week 4. And they're like, what's the rush to close that one and not have this open? When the whole purpose of building a $12 million library was so it would be able to be built and then no interruptions.
You can criticize all you want, and I'm
No,
not
that's
sure
what
why
I'm
you want to,
questioning.
but you can criticize all you want. But we can't control all of the factors, and we couldn't control that elevator. But the library staff did a great job planning the move, scheduling workers and volunteers to help with the move. And we made a decision to move forward with that, with all those volunteers, hoping that the elevator would be done 10 days ago. It's not. And so that's where we're at. But the volunteers worked hard, and that's the decision that we made to continue with the schedule. So yes, we could have waited. We also hope that they could take the building down quicker. And you can see that today they started a little bit of that process because the building has to come down before the driveway can be opened. And so that's all part of the process. You know, we have to move forward. So if we held back on that one, we'd hold the driveway closed longer, and we'd want to get it open before winter sets in. So,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion
Cold
to
permit
adjourn.
and everything?
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
We forgot to ask for nays.